Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Morrowind Let's Play. Again, I have to thank you for your patience in my current upload schedule, as I don't think it is going to get any more consistent anytime soon. However, I am going to obviously try my best. But anyway, regardless of that, let's just get kind of right into the bulk of this. So essentially today, what we're going to do is, I think I kind of detailed this out a little bit in the last one, but I can't 100% remember. But today we're going to take a little bit of extra time when we talk to Vivec. We're going to read over the literature that he has in here. We're going to talk to him about everything because I think it is kind of important. This is kind of like the biggest direct character lore drop of the game, and it comes so late. If you're keeping up on all of the readings and stuff as you're going through the game, which of course I haven't done since maybe the first couple times that I played through it, but if you haven't been keeping up with the readings and stuff, all the books that they kind of tell you to pick up or the whatever, then you don't really have a great concept of what's been going on. So anyway, just for the fun of it, and also hopefully, ideally, to make, I have a lot of stuff on me, to make it easier on myself in the editing process, I think. We're not going to probably end up going very far. We're probably just going to talk to him and try and figure some stuff out. So let's just get on his level here. We look pretty good together, honestly. About the same height, at least with these goofy boots I've got on. Which honestly, those look kind of funky. Anyway, let's stay on task. Was there something else? Alright, so I can't 100% remember the order under which we get these concepts, but let's just go through them alphabetically. Alright, so bitter recriminations. Okay, recriminations. Interesting word. You certainly learn a lot of words from this game as well. So Vivec says, "You want to chide me. Why did I murder Nerevar? Why did I break my oath to Azura not to use Kagranak's tools? Why did I cause others to suffer?" Alright, so let's be real. I guess the most important question here for us as the Nerevar Reborn would be, why did I murder Nerevar? Ah, I see. Vivec responds, "We did not murder Nerevar. The legend that we murdered Nerevar comes from a story told by a shield companion to Nerevar, Alondro Sul, who lived among the Ashlanders. The Ashlanders have retained Alondro Sul's account as part of their oral histories. The account is persuasive in some details, implausible in others, and is in any case false. I have 2 accounts of Nerevar's death here in my library. Read them and judge for yourself." Okay, so that's what Vivec says. He says he didn't do it. We'll come back to that later. Let's figure out why Vivec and the others of the tribunal, Almalexia and Sotha-Sil, broke their oath to Azura not to use Kagranak's tools. "Along with Lord Nerevar, and at his insistence, Almalexia, Sotha-Sil, and I swore before our god of oaths at the time, the Daedra Lord Azura, never to employ..." Okay, hold on. Let me restart that one. Along with Lord Nerevar, and at his insistence, Almalexia, Sotha-Sil, and I swore before our god of oaths at the time, the Daedra Lord Azura, never to employ the tools of Kagranak for any purpose. We broke our oaths. We turned our backs on the old gods. I still see no compelling reason to worship any of the Aedra or Daedra. But for the respect I held for Nerevar, and the respect I held for myself, I should never have betrayed my oath. Of all my life's actions, I most regret that failure. So I guess being a god isn't all it's cracked up to be, as we probably know as humans. We probably do know that by now. I do actually, that is kind of one of my, like, favorite, like, okay, so I've always been into, like, mythology and stuff. So every time I play, like, a fantasy game, like RPG style, whatever, where there's, like, a lot of lore, I do like that this concept, regardless of, like, where the game was made, like, country, whatever, like, there is kind of always, like, they sort of often bring up, like, that being a god isn't actually, like, great at all, which I think is kind of an interesting thing to think about. Obviously, this is my first time, like, articulating this thought, but I personally probably wouldn't want to be a god, right? Like, I can see myself being okay with living for, like, 200 years or something, but can you imagine, like, being immortal? I feel like, I don't know if that's, like, a limitation of my humanity or whatever, or my, like, puny human brain, but, like, I can't imagine not only, like, the kind of, like, responsibility or whatever of having to be alive that long, and, like, the kinds of, like, I mean, I obviously I don't know what it's like, but I do think that it's really cool that humans like to reinforce the idea that being a god isn't all it's cracked up to be. Whether or not that's because, like, it's like a sour grapes thing, or because it's like an actual, like, it's actually like a probably a really, like, shitty thing. But I think he'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. I'm pretty sure he talks about the godliness at some point. All right, so now that we have covered him breaking his oath, let's go over why did I cause others to suffer? Why did I cause others to suffer? I respect that question and you for it. The most I can say is, I did the best I could as I saw things. Can you, mortal, presume to judge the actions and motives of a god? But because I need you and you need me, I will make an accounting for my sins to you. But not now. Destroy Dagoth Ur, and then we will discuss my sins. Then, perhaps, you will have earned the right to judge me. Okay. So, I guess we'll come back and we'll keep him to his word. I actually don't remember if his dialogues change at all, but we will come back to him after that. I'll make a note of that. All right, so we did break my oath. We did business. We did cause others to suffer. Let's recheck counsel. Okay, yeah. All right. So this is more like, we'll come back to counsel. Because this is more like the end of our conversation as opposed to the current conversation. So I'm going to save all this stuff. Let me recheck explanations. Okay, explanations is good. Explanations is good. Let's talk about this stuff now. All right, so he says, you want to know, why did I wage war on the Nerevarine? Why did I try to suppress the apographer? Why did I persecute the dissident priests? Why is Dagoth Ur winning the war? How does the tribunal fight Dagoth Ur? What are Wraithguard's powers? So let's just, go at it in order. War on the Nerevarine. Why did I try to kill you? Because you threatened the faith of my followers, and I needed their faith to hold back the darkness. And I thought you were my enemy, a pawn of the subtle Daedra Lord Azura, or a pawn of Emperor Uriel's septum, or a simple fraud, perhaps a hero, but not much of one if my faithful could destroy you. Now circumstances are altered. I need you, and you need me. It's still kind of suspicious, whatever. We'll probably get into that later. So why did I suppress the apographer? Because it was such an unfortunate mixture of truth, falsehood, and speculation that I couldn't afford to manage the confused reaction of our faithful. Any doubt whatsoever weakened their faith, and we needed their faith to give us power to maintain the ghost fence. In retrospect, perhaps we lost the faith of those we most needed while preserving the faith of the meek and indifferent. Perhaps a mistake was made. Who can say? So this is also just a little side note. This is the second time that Vivec has stated that he needs the faith of the people in order to maintain power. Now, I don't know, like, the truth of that. Maybe if there's someone who understands a little bit more how, like, godliness in the Elder Scrolls works could contribute. But I think that this is also an interesting thing to bring up. And I say interesting because, like, I feel like this is another thing that comes up in games where there are, like, gods living amongst humans or whatever. Not that Vivec necessarily lives amongst humans, but he kind of does, you know what I mean? He just kind of lives here. Almalexia just kind of lives in the middle of her town as well. You know what I mean? So, something to think about. Is it actually that they require faith? Because I'm not sure that the Daedra require faith in order to be, or to maintain their power. And also, it's not like they were given their, like, demigod status because of faith at all, right? Like, it's simply just because of the Dwemer tools that they used. But let's move on from that for now. Anyway, just some initial, not really initial thoughts, but, like, you know, like the compounded thoughts of many playthroughs. All right, so why did I persecute the dissident priests? Suppression and persecution of dissent is just one of the standard tools of statecraft. I believe we erred in trusting the judgment of Beryl Sala. He and his ordinators served valiantly in the war against Dagoth Ur. We mistook his misplaced zeal for energy and dedication. Mistakes were made, but no more. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. Yeah, because it's always that easy, right? You just make those snap decisions, and then two opposing ideologies just start getting along, right? That's, like, you know, historically accurate. Why is Dagoth Ur winning? Dagoth Ur is winning because he's close to the source of power, Lorkhan's heart, and because he retains the passion of madness, while we have settled into the lonely and unrewarding posture of dogged dutifulness and perseverance. And finally, perhaps because he's stronger and smarter than we are, and his followers are more fervent and fanatical. I believe we were careless and complacent and outwitted. And in the matter of denying the Nerevarine, we were foolish. Okay, so here he brings up again that concept of, like, faith being a source of power, because he does say that his followers are more fervent and fanatical. But does that really... I'm not sure if... I guess the way that I'm coming to understand what he means here is that, I mean, like, a god can certainly be a god or whatever, but, like, maybe it's not, like, an individual source of power, rather a power of, like, the god's, like, influence or whatever. That's why those, like, I always get really, like, confused and sort of put off by, like, conversations about, like, power scaling or whatever, because, like, there's so many different ways to measure power, right? And, like, in this case, like, if a source of power is the power of your followers, it's not really, like, their faithfulness to you isn't what's giving you individually more power, right? It's, like, the collective power of your movement or your sphere of influence is wider or whatever. I don't know. Interesting thoughts to think. All right, so how does the tribunal fight Dagoth Ur? Interesting. In the past, the tribunal made seasonal campaigns to Red Mountain. We slew Dagoth Ur and his kin, though the heart always revived them in time. Later, when we realized we couldn't destroy them, we created the ghost fence to contain the threat. These solutions were effective until Dagoth Ur ambushed us and captured Sunder and Keating. Since that time, our fortunes have waned as his increased. So, interestingly enough, well, okay, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to the tools conversation. All right, what are Wraithguard's powers? Wraithguard's primary function is to protect the wearer from the fatal energies of the artifacts Sunder and Keening. It also has minor protective enchantments against physical and magical damage that you may find useful. Okay, cool. So yeah, basically that goes back to, now we're on to this council conversation, which we'll go through very quickly. I think that is everything, right? I'm just going to ask about his library again. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So back to council. You need to know, where is Dagoth Ur? Dagoth Ur has never ventured out of the Heart Chamber, the place under Red Mountain where the heart of Lorkhan lies. It is there or nearby that he is constructing a new god, Akulakhan, also known as Second Numidium. I also love the I love when games are like, we're building a god this time. It's a concept I enjoy. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. What are Dagoth Ur's plans? We know nothing for sure, but we have learned much from interrogating Sixth House cultists and victims of dream compulsions, and from our study of Dagoth Ur's actions. The temple scholars and inquisitors have prepared a document, Dagoth Ur's plans, that summarizes what we know or suspect. Take this copy. It's also available in my library. Okay, who are Dagoth Ur's servants? Chief among his servants are his 7 brothers, the Ash Vampires, powerful heartwights and cunning sorcerers of old. These creatures appear to die, but are always revived at the heart. Somehow Dagoth Ur has conferred some portion of his immortality upon them, or perhaps they sustain themselves through more conventional sorcery. They definitely don't. I'm pretty sure they're connected to him and the heart. I don't think it's regular sorcery. Alright, who is Dagoth Ur? Dagoth Ur is the former Lord High Counselor of House Dagoth. He was of Lord Nerevar's generation, older than we, and is a mighty sorcerer and enchanted in life. In his sustained shadow immortality, he appears to be a highly intelligent, severely deluded immortal monster with unparalleled supernatural abilities. He appears, by turns, lucid and deranged, compassionate and bestial, profoundly wise and profoundly disordered. In short, he is a mad god. Are not you all? What are Dagoth Ur's powers? He is able to send his mind into the dreams of susceptible victims across vast distances. The victims are either swayed by his compulsions or driven mad. He also seems nearly invulnerable to physical and magical harm. His flesh, and the flesh of his followers, evolves toward a mutable magical form. Dagoth Ur in the highest ranks can control the distorted manifestations of their flesh. Lower ranks lose control of their bodies and become mindless corpus monsters. Okay, we have seen quite a bit of that. Alright, what is known about Dagoth Ur's defenses? Confer with the Ordinators and Buoyant Armigers garrisoning Ghostgate for the latest information about the defenses of the citadels of Dagoth Ur and his Heartwight kin. We won't. We're just going to storm in there, by the way. Alright, how can I prepare for battle? Prepare for war. Beyond the ghost fence, there are no safe places, no allies. Stockpile resources, plan for retreat and replenishment, quest for artifacts of power. We'll certainly be doing that. Alright, who can help? Ordinators and Buoyant Armigers stationed at Ghostgate have the most practical knowledge of the nightmare world inside the ghost fence. Seek them in my name for counsel and aid. Alright, so that's basically it. Whoa. So we've kind of done what we can with him. He's got a very severe look. Let's take a moment to look through his library now. Okay. So, the plan to defeat Dagoth Ur. This is like kind of boring, I feel like. Basically, this is kind of all we need to know. Go to Veminal, go to Adrosal, and then go to Dagoth. That's it. Easy. Alright, the Battle of Red Mountain, Dagoth Ur's plans, and Nerevar. So let's look at Dagoth Ur's plans. Basic objectives. Alright, so this is important for understanding what Dagoth Ur's goals are. Or whatever. It's taken him a very long time to get this stuff started, but let's go through his basic objectives. So, establish a theocracy in Morrowind based on the worship of the newborn god Akulakhan, Second Numidium, to be created by Dagoth Ur from the heart of Lorkhan, and a body constructed according to the principles and rituals pioneered by the Dwemer Kagranak. Establish the ancient heirs of House Dagoth as the god priests of Akulakhan, and the sixth house of Dagoth Ur as the dominant political power in Morrowind. through charismatic conversion. Unite the Dunmer under the guidance of Dagoth Ur to battle against the foreign animals who hold Morrowind in objection. No, Dagoth Ur has apparently adopted the views and motivations of the Dwemer Highcraft Lord Kagrenac. In effect, he recapitulates the ancient blasphemous folly of the Dwemer. Expose the false worship of the tribunal and destroy the
ecclesiastical
authority and political power of the temple. How much the dissident priests or the cult of the Nerevarine may be controlled or influenced by the Sixth House in this regard is open to speculation. Extirpate all remaining individuals of inferior and mongrel races from Morrowind. Oh. Drive the Empire from Morrowind. Recover ancient territories stolen by Skyrim and Argonia. Extend the worship of Akulakan to all nations of Tamriel through subversion and conquest. And that's it. And then here are some more plans. Yeah, it's been a long time. There's a bit of the time scale down here. So this has been going on since 2E882 all the way to now, which is what, 427, I guess? 3E427. So it's been hundreds of years that he's been down there, so. Okay, so we have two other important documents to take a look at here. I already know what my opinion is about what I think happened at Red Mountain, but let's find out what, let's take a look rather at these two accounts of what happened. So let's try this one first. Okay, so this is Vivec's story. Okay, so let's take a look at the Battle of Red Mountain and the rise and fall of the Tribunal. So the following is a transcript of the words of Lord Vivec addressed to a dissident priest, Malor Omain, who confronted Vivec with the Ashlander traditions surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain and with prophecies of the Nerevarine, and to unnamed magistrates of the Inquisition who joined Vivec in interrogating the dissident priest. Who can clearly recall the events of the distant past? But you have asked me to tell you, in my own words, the events surrounding the Battle of Red Mountain, the birth of the Tribunal, and the prophecies of a Nerevar reborn. Here is what I can tell you. When the Chimer first abandoned the herds and tents of their nomadic ancestors and built the first great houses, we loved the Daedra and worshipped them as gods. But our brethren, the Dwemer, scorned the Daedra and mocked our foolish rituals, and preferred instead their gods of reason and logic. So the Chimer and Dwemer were always at bitter war until the Nords came and invaded Resdain. Only then did the Chimer and Dwemer put away their strife and join together to cast out the invaders. Once the Nords were driven out, General Nerevar of the Chimer and General Dumac of the Dwemer, who had come to love and respect one another, resolved to make peace between their peoples. In that time, I was but a junior counselor to Nerevar, and Nerevar's queen, Almalexia, and his other favorite counselor, Sotha Sil, always doubted that such a peace might long survive, given the bitter disputes between Chimer and Dwemer. But by negotiation and compromise, Nerevar and Dumac somehow managed to preserve a fragile peace. But when Dagoth Ur, Lord of House Dagoth, and trusted as a friend by both Nerevar and the Dwemer, brought us proof that High Engineer Kagrenac of the Dwemer had discovered the heart of Lorkhan, and that he had learned how to tap its powers, and was building a new god, a mockery of Chimer faith, and a fearsome weapon. We all urged Nerevar to make war on the dwarves, and to destroy this threat to Chimer beliefs and security. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumac and asked if what Dagoth Ur said was true, but Kagrenac took great offense, and he asked whom Nerevar thought he was, that he might presume to judge the affairs of the Dwemer. Nerevar was further troubled and made pilgrimage to Hol Amayan, the sacred temple of Azura, and Azura confirmed that all that Dagoth Ur said was indeed true, and that the creation of a new god of the Dwemer should be prevented at all costs. When Nerevar came back and told us what the goddess had said, we felt our judgments confirmed, and again counseled him to war, chiding Nerevar for his naive trust and friendship, and reminding Nerevar of his duty to protect the faith and security of the Chimer against the impiety and dangerous ambitions of the Dwemer. Then Nerevar went back to Vardenfell one last time, hoping that the negotiations and compromise might once again preserve the peace. But this time the friends Nerevar and Dumac quarreled bitterly, and as a result the Chimer and Dwemer went to war. Sad. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but Nerevar's cunning drew most of Dumac's armies out into the field and pinned them there, while Nerevar, Dagoth Ur, and a small group of companions could make their way into the Heart Chamber by secret means. There, Nerevar the Chimera King met Dumac the Dwarf King, and they both collapsed from grievous wounds and draining magics. With Dumac fallen and threatened by Dagoth Ur and others, Kagranak turned his tools upon the heart, and Nerevar said he saw Kagranak and all his Dwemer companions at once disappear from the world. In that instant, Dwemer everywhere disappeared without a trace. But Kagranak's tools remained, and Dagoth Ur seized them, and he carried them to Nerevar, saying, "That fool Kagranak has destroyed his own people with these things. We should destroy them right away, lest they fall into the wrong hands." Pretty reasonable response, in my opinion. But Nerevar was resolved to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come and whose counsel he would not ignore again. "I will ask the tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth Ur, until I return." So Nerevar told Dagoth Ur to protect the tools and the heart chamber until he returned. Then Nerevar was carried to us, where we waited on the slopes of Red Mountain, and he told us all that had transpired under Red Mountain. What Nerevar had said was that the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and that the heart of Lorkhan held wondrous powers. Only later did we hear from others present that Dagoth Ur had thought the Dwemer destroyed, not made immortal, and no one knows for sure what really happened there. After hearing Nerevar, we gave our counsel as he requested, proposing we should preserve these tools in trust for the welfare of the Chimera people. And who knows, perhaps the Dwemer are not gone forever, but merely transported to some distant realm, from which they may someday return to threaten our security once again. Therefore, we need to keep these tools, to study them and their principles, so that we may be safe in future generations. And though Nerevar voiced his grave misgivings, he was willing to be ruled by our council under one condition, that we all together should swear a solemn oath upon Azura that the tools would never be used in the profane manner that the Dwemer had intended. We all readily agreed, and swore solemn oaths at Nerevar's dictation. So then we went with Nerevar back into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth Ur. Dagoth Ur refused to deliver the tools to us, saying they were dangerous and we could not touch them. Dagoth Ur seemed to be irrational, insisting that only he could be trusted with the tools, and then we guessed that he had somehow been affected by his handling of the tools. But now I feel sure that he had privately learned the powers of the tools and had in some confused way decided that he must have them for himself. Then Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. Somehow Dagoth Ur and his retainers escaped, but we gained the tools and delivered them to Sotha Sil for study and safekeeping. For some years we kept the oaths we swore to Azura with Nerevar, but during that time in secret, Sotha Sil must have studied the tools and divined their mysteries. And at last he came to us with a vision of a new world of peace, with justice and honor for nobles, and health and prosperity for the commoners. Interesting. With the tribunal as immortal patrons and guides. And dedicating ourselves to this vision of a better world, we made a pilgrimage to Red Mountain and transformed ourselves with the power of Kagranak's tools. And no sooner than we had completed our rituals and begun to discover our newfound powers, the Daedra Lord Azura appeared and cursed us for our forsworn oaths. By her powers of prophecy, she assured us that her champion Nerevar, true to his oath, would return to punish us for our perfidy, and to make sure that such profane knowledge might never be again used to mock and defy the will of the gods. But Sotha Sil said to her, "The old gods are cruel and arbitrary, and distant from the hopes and fears of Mer. Your age is past. We are the new gods, born of the flesh, and wise and caring of the needs of our people. Spare us your threats and chiding in constant spirit. We are bold and fresh and will not fear you." And then, in that moment, all Chimera were changed into Dunmer, and our skins turned ashen, and our eyes into fire. Of course, we only knew at that time that this had happened to us. But Azura said, "This is not my act, but your act. You have chosen your fate and the fate of your people, and all the Dunmer shall share your fate from now to the end of time. You think yourselves gods, but you are blind, and all is darkness. And Azura left us alone in darkness, and we were all afraid, but we put on brave faces and went forth from Red Mountain to build the new world of our dreams. And the new world we shaped was glorious and generous, and the worship of the Dunmer fervent and grateful. The Dunmer were at first afraid of their new faces, but Sothasil spoke to them, saying that it was not a curse but a blessing, a sign of their changed natures, and a sign of the special favor they might enjoy as new Mare. No longer barbarians trembling before ghosts and spirits, but civilized Mare speaking directly to their immortal friends and patrons, the three faces of the tribunal. And we were all inspired by Sothasil's speech and vision and took heart. And over time we crafted the customs and institutions of a just and honorable society, and the land of Resdain knew millennia of peace, equity, and prosperity unknown to other savage races. Ooh. But beneath Red Mountain, Dagoth Ur had survived. And even as the light of our bold new world shined ever more brightly beneath Red Mountain, the darkness gathered, a darkness that was close kin to the bright light that Sothasil coaxed from the heart of Lorcan with the tools of Kagranak. As the darkness grew, we fought it and crafted walls to confine it, but we could never destroy it, for the source of the darkness was the same source as the source of our own divine inspiration. And in these latter days of Morrowind, reduced to a subjugated province of the Western Empire, as the glory of the temple fades and the dark tide rises from Red Mountain, we are reminded of Azura and her promised champion's return. We have waited, blinded in darkness, mere shadows, drained of our ardent vision, in shame of our folly, in fear of our judgment, and in hope of our deliverance. We do not know if the Outlander claiming to fulfill the prophecies of the Nerevarine is our old companion, Nerevar Reborn, or a pawn of the Emperor, or a catspaw of Azura, or some simple twist of fate. But we insist you to adhere to the temple doctrine and conform to the strictures dividing the hieroglypha from the apographer, and that you not speak that which must not be spoken openly. Act as a dutiful priest should, in accordance with your vows of obedience to the canons and archcanons, and all will be forgiven. Defy me, and you will know what it is to stand against a god. So let's be real. At no point did he even discuss Nerevar's death. It does, it says Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. And then that's it. There is no discussion. He does not address the death of Nerevar at all. It doesn't say any of that. He says he didn't kill him, right? All right. They swore solemn oaths, went with Nerevar back into Red Mountain. And then Nerevar and our guard resorted to force to secure the tools. And that's it. That's it. That's it. And then Nerevar just disappears from the story. So Vivec is incredibly suspicious. And I mean, I know what I believe, but let's take a look at Nerevar at Red Mountain. So the following is from the Apographa, the hidden writings of the Tribunal Temple. It is a scholarly retelling of a tradition transmitted through the Ashlanders concerning the battle at Red Mountain and subsequent events. The Ashlanders associate this tale with the telling of Alandro Sul, a shield companion of Nerevar who came to live among the Ashlanders after the death of Nerevar and during the ascension of the Tribunal. There are many variant treatments of this story, but the primary elements are consistent throughout the tradition. The murder of Nerevar, the tragic fate of Dagoth Ur, and the profane source of the Tribunal's divine power are denied by temple doctrine as ignorant Ashlander superstition and not widely known among civilized Dunmer. Alright, so Resdain, present-day Morrowind, was contested ground between two very different types of Mare, the Chimer, who worshipped Daedra, and the Dwemer, who worshipped a profane and secret power. Alright, they warred a lot until the Nords came, and then they fought the Nords together, and now they're best friends. Two heroes, one from the Chimer and one from the Dwemer, Indoril Nerevar and Dumak Dwarf Orc, made peace between their people and together ousted the alien invaders. Then these two heroes worked long and hard to maintain that peace thereafter, though the counselors thought it could not last, or worse, that it shouldn't. Nerevar's queen and his generals, Almalexia, Sothasil, Vivec, told him to claim all Resdain for his own. But Nerevar would not listen, for he remembered his friendship with Dumak. There would be only peace, whatever. Until Dagoth Ur arrived. House Dagoth had discovered the source of the profane and secret power of the Dwemer, the legendary heart of Lorkhan, which Dumac's people had used to make themselves immortal and beyond the measure of the gods. In fact, one of their high priests, Kagranak, was building a new god so the Dwemer could claim Resdayn for their own. The tribunal urged Nerevar again to make war on the dwarves. Nerevar was troubled. He went to Dumac, his friend of old, and asked if what Dagoth Ur said was true. But Kagranak and the high priests of the Dwemer had kept their new god secret from their king, and Dumac said the Dwemer were innocent of any wrongdoing. Nerevar was troubled again and made pilgrimage to Holamayan, the sacred temple of Azura, who confirmed that all that Dagoth Ur said was indeed true, and that the new god of the Dwemer should be destroyed for the safety of not only Resdayn, but for the whole world. So, when Nerevar went back and told his tribunal what the goddess had said, his queen and generals felt themselves proved aright and again counseled him to war. There were reasons that the Dwemer and Chimer had hated each other forever. They're very insistent, though. The tribunal, very insistent. Finally, Nerevar, angered that his friend Dumac would lie to him, but he didn't, went back to Vardenfell. This time the Chimer King was arrayed in arms and armor and had his hosts around him, and he spoke harshly to Dumac Dwarfork, king of Red Mountain. You must give up your worship of the heart of Lorkhan, or I shall forget our friendship and the deeds that were accomplished in its name. And Dumac, who still knew nothing of Kagranak's new god, but proud and protective as ever of his people, said, We shall not relinquish that which has been our way for years beyond reckoning, just as the Chimer will not relinquish their ties to the lords and ladies of Oblivion. And to come at my door in this way, arrayed in arms and armor, and with your hosts around you, tells me you have already forgotten our friendship. Stand down, my sweet Nerevar, I will swear by the 15 and 1 golden tones, I shall kill you and all your people. It's so sad. It's devastating. And so the Chimer and Dwemer went to war. The Dwemer were well defended by their fortress at Red Mountain, but the bravery and cleverness of Nerevar's queen and generals drew most of Dumac's armies. Okay. So this is a very small point where Vivec said that it was Nerevar's, I think, if I remember correctly, as you know, I have goldfish brain, but Vivec said that Nerevar's cleverness drew them out, but the Suul, the shield champion, or I forget, shield companion, something like that, is saying that it was Almalexia and the generals. So that's interesting, and here it is, and kept them there so that Nerevar and Dagoth Ur could make their way into the heart chamber by secret means. There, Nerevar met Dumac and the Dwarf King, and they both fell from grievous wounds. Dagoth Ur slew Kagranak. And took the tools the Dwemer used to tap the power of the heart. Okay. He went to his dying lord Nerevar and asked him what to do with these tools. And Nerevar summoned Azura again, and she showed them how to use... And Nerevar summoned Azura again, and she showed them how to use the tools to separate the power of the heart from the Dwemer people. And on the fields, the tribunal and their armies watched as the Dwemer turned into dust all around them as their stolen immortality was taken away. Back in Red Mountain, Nerevar told Dagoth Ur to protect the tools in the heart chamber until he returned. Dagoth Ur said, But shouldn't we destroy these tools at once so that they might never be used for evil again? But Nerevar was confused by his wounds and his sorrow, for he still loved Dumac and the Dwemer people, and so went to the fields outside of Red Mountain to confer with his queen and his generals, who had foreseen that this war would come, and whose counsel he would not ignore again. I will ask the tribunal what we shall do with them, for they have had wisdom in the past that I had not. Stay here, loyal Dagoth Ur, until I return. Then Nerevar told his queen and generals all that had transpired under Red Mountain and how the Dwemer had used special tools to turn their people into immortals, and of the wondrous power of the heart of Lorkhan. The tribunal decided that the Chimer should learn how to use this power so that Nerevar might claim Resdayn and the world for their people. Nerevar did not expect or want this, so he asked his queen and generals to help him summon Azura yet again for her guidance. But the tribunal had become as greedy as Kagranak upon hearing of the power of the heart, and they coveted it. They made ritual as if to summon Azura as Nerevar wanted, but Almalexia used poisoned candles, and Sothasil used poisoned robes, and Vivec used poisoned invocations. Nerevar was murdered. Then Azura came forth anyway and cursed the tribunal for their foul deeds. She told them that she would use her powers over dusk and dawn to make sure Nerevar would come back and make things right again. But the tribunal laughed at her and said that soon they would be gods themselves, and that the Chimer people would forget their old ways of worship. And Azura knew this would be true, and that it would take a long time before her power might bring Nerevar back. What you have done here today is foul beyond measure, and you will grow to regret it, for the lives of gods are not what mortals think, and matters that weigh only years to mortals weigh on gods forever. And so that they might know forever their wicked deeds, Azura changed the Chimer into Dunmer, and their skin turned ashen, and their eyes into fire. Let this mark remind you of your true selves, who, like ghouls, fed on the nobility, heroism, and trust of their king. And then the tribunal went into Red Mountain and met with Dagoth Ur. Dagoth Ur saw what had been done, for his skin had changed as well, and he tried to avenge the death of Nerevar, but to no avail. He was driven off and thought dead. The tribunal found the tools he had been guarding, and, through study of Kagranak's methods, turned them into gods. Thousands of years after their apotheosis, the tribunal are still the gods of Morrowind, and the old ways of worship are remembered only by a few, and the murder of Nerevar is known to fewer. But his queen and generals still fear his return, for the words of Azura linger long, and they see the mark of her curse on their people every day. Okay, so I think that there is truth to both of those things. I guess my biggest question, and I wish I could just ask Azura, is did Azura teach them how to use the tools, and is she the reason why the Dwemer disappeared? Because I feel like there might be more credibility in Vivec's recounting of Kagranak kind of like desperately using like the heart and then all of the Dwemer disappearing. So I guess that's the only part that I really have a question of when it comes to that story. But I think he's guilty. I think he looks guilty. I don't trust him. I don't trust any of them. And I don't know how they convinced Almalexia to do that either. But, you know, I guess we'll find out in the mournhold expansion after this. So, yeah, that is a brief little retelling of what happened at Red Mountain. I'm interested to hear and maybe have, like, some relatively light-hearted discussions about what other people think to be true. Since, of course, Vivec is just unreliable of a narrator, as is the Shield companion. I have to Alondro Sewell. Because obviously Alondro Sewell being closer to Nerevar than Vivec, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. I do think that the tribunal killed him, though, because I don't think that Nerevar would have let them use the tools. But anyway, let's see. I think, for the most part, I think I'm going to drop some of this stuff off. I think we are going to move around a little bit. I think I'm going to drop some of this stuff off at my, at my house in Aldrun. And then I think what we're going to do is we're just going to walk ourselves over to Ghostgate, because we're just going to attack Red Mountain the next time we do this. I think we have plenty of money. I think we just have too much stuff, because I was jumping in Vivec's spot just a second ago, and I was realizing that I wasn't jumping nearly as high as I should have been. So let's just drop off a bunch of this junk that we've picked up over time. Maybe drink a Magica potion. Not like it matters, but it's always weird coming in here. Oh, 99 acrobatics. We'll get 100 by the end of the game. We definitely will. That's exciting. I love acrobatics. But yeah, again, so acrobatics 99, I should be jumping a lot higher than that. It's just because I have so much stuff on me. But yeah, we're almost there. We're almost at the end. I'm actually really excited to start the expansions as well, because I have not played them in a really long time. I usually do kind of stick to the base game, which is, you know, whatever. It's whatever. Home sweet home. Home sweet home. I do wish I had more space in these chests and whatnot. I doubt there's space in the other ones. I could start taking, yeah. I could start taking up these. But actually they're full of like alchemical equipment, aren't they? Are they both like that? Oh, this chest is empty. Okay, so let's put stuff like this in here. All this stuff that I just do not need. Though those are cool. All the noises are... Oh, I need that. All the noises are really nice. I took that guy's shoes. Now I'm just remembering. Alright. I think that's basically it. We'll keep the Redoran helm on. Okay, so that helped a little bit. Oh, there's a book. I'll put that in the book pile. I have... Okay, good. Besides that, I think we're in pretty good shape to head over to Ghostgate. And yeah, I mean, this is great. We're getting further and further. Wait, did I put a lamp on that for a specific reason, or? Okay, I guess the Ransom of Zarek is going in my... No, I can't go near the pillow book. I imagine it'll be a lot of fun to decorate my strongholds because of how my brain works here. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I don't need the dagger either, so I'll just set that there. The short sword I'll just take with me just in case, because my long blade is still only 83. Oh, these are always heavier, I feel like. I shouldn't need more than 3 or 4. I have 4. That should be more than enough. I think when it comes to supplies and stuff, I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm all set. I have plenty of fatigue. Plenty. Health potions. I have so many. Magicka. I'm pretty good. I'm not going to use a lot of magicka in there, so I think we're ready to go. I think we're as equipped as we're going to get. So, yeah, I mean, we are in Aldrun. It's such a nice little hub. Honestly, like the perfect place to live. So let's just head over to Ghostgate. Now, I should know this way by heart, you know, because I'm kind of always going over there. But I get a little confused, just like anyone would. I'm pretty sure I can just follow this. I'm going to find a lot of friends. And this should turn into, like, the Ghostgate region. If I just hug the, kind of the mountain over here. I think. I don't know. I go to Ghostgate all the time. I had been going there so many times in the skill books guide. Yeah. Okay, perfect. We're good. We're good. Yeah, it looks pretty ominous. Looks really cool at night. I kind of like it. I wish you could have the option to... Okay, I drank too much caffeine today because that actually really scared me, and it's just a rat. That's absurd, but it looks really cool, and like I was saying, I wish you had the option to turn it on and off as you wish. I think that would be great. And it makes that cool vibe noise, like... I love that. That's so cool to me. This game's awesome. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's such a beautiful image. It's just so pretty. I, like, genuinely love these vibes, this aesthetic right now. I'm gonna have to screenshot that one specifically. Maybe I'll change the cover for the next few episodes so that you know that we're on to some serious business. Alright, we're almost there. Nice quick little walk. I hear that cliff racer. I don't really care because I'm just gonna head in and then I think maybe just read a bunch of books in the hopes that it'll wait, actually, how did I come in? Like this way? Read a bunch of books in the hopes that, also check out what wares people have, in the hopes that like a couple extra levels will really just help boost my effectiveness down there. Spear won't help, but you know, they do have a lot of books here, so. Oh wait, what's that bottom one? Cool. The Hope of the Veteran.
My time is precious, so make it quick.
Okay, I'm not gonna bother you. Like I said, I'm not really gonna talk to these people because this part of the game is really straightforward, regardless of what Vivec would have you believe. You really just go to the non-Dagoth Ur strongholds and then get the supplies and then go to the Dagoth Ur one. And luckily,
this is a pleasure.
Thank you. Luckily, I have been in Red Mountain a few times recently, so I shouldn't get too lost. And by that, I mean I'm literally just going to levitate over everything because I do want to do kind of this sorta as quickly as possible.
3 blessings to you, Outlander. This is a pleasure.
Thank you. I guess this isn't the good book side, but it is a good place for sleeping, maybe? I can't remember if you're allowed to use all of the services here without, like, pay or whatever. I have this, like, concept in my head that you're able to, but... Oh, yeah, and then you can get, like, the blessing of literally every single, like, god. Oh yeah, here we go. This is good bookshelf. Good bookshelf. Have I read all this stuff? Oops. This isn't even my... Okay. Alteration. Oh, I got so scared that it was acrobatics, because I was like, oh no, my acrobatics 100. I wanted it naturally. Alchemy 84. I'll take that. That's pretty nice. That's not a book.
I'm waiting.
Okay, why is everyone so mean to me here? I thought we were supposed to be nice to each other again.
But make it quick. What do you want?
But I guess not. I guess they don't care. Or maybe the message hasn't really reached them. No, that's probably to the outside, and I don't want that. Let's check out down here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hand to hand. Not really useful for me, but yeah, I think it happens to me with the Blue Book of Riddles a lot. I don't always read the books. I just read the price. Light armor. Oh, and there's a level up. Although I don't think I want to level up to 24. I think honestly because it's scaled, just to keep it as quick and easy as possible, I might wait to level until the end of the game.
Now, Outlander. Head on.
Y'all, what is in here? Lock level 100? I really want to know. If you know what's in there, let me know. I really want to go in. I mean, the key's right there. Oh, it's a vault. Oh, it's a vault. It's a vault. Okay. I don't really care at this point.
Speak quickly, Outlander.
I might, like, save the world first and then start robbing everything. But yeah, okay. So I think we read all the books we can. And I think this is probably a pretty good place to end it. If it's long, it's just because we're reading a lot and thinking a lot. I would love to have a discussion with others about what happened at Red Mountain. Because I don't think you ever really like learn the actual truth, do you? I feel like because there's so many different accounts, I could be wrong about this again, because like I know that like ESO and Skyrim and stuff, like they take place in the future, and maybe there is more information about what happened by then. But yeah, so we're gonna end it by fighting a cliff racer, because it is Morrowind after all. Longblade 84, very exciting. We're just gonna go in the first gate, and then we'll enter the second one when we get back. Yeah. Thank you for watching. I'm excited for Red Mountain. I'm excited to end the base game. So yeah, I deeply appreciate you, and I will see you again very soon.